Hey, this is Janice Trusky. I'm just going to show you the very basic beginnings of how to go about putting paint on your canvas and how to get the drawing on there. This is a very basic video for the beginners who have never painted before. So what we're doing is we're doing simple shapes. We do not have one consistent light source. I have a diffused light, meaning more than one light source. So there's one kind of in this lower area here, but a little forward, and then one up to the left on the ceiling. So you have diffused lighting, so you have more than one light source. So what you want to do is you want to figure out, for this particular drawing, there's several ways to start a drawing. For this one that we're doing, I'm going to start and I'm going to figure out how large this red sphere is and how large I should put it on this canvas, and then I can measure the two other spheres off of that. Okay, and I'm going to start in light and loose. I have an F pencil, but it could be like a B or a 2B. I wouldn't go too dark with your graphite because it'll just be more that you have to cover up when you start painting. All right, so I'm just going to kind of just go light and loose. It doesn't have to be perfect because once you start painting, you're not stopping the drawing process. You're just drawing with color. So there's always time to fix your drawing. And I'm just going to kind of circle in where I think, you know, a couple of the hot spots might be. Maybe there's like a elongated one here and one there. Now you want to kind of see where this green, the top of the green sphere lines up to the red, and where that golden sphere or yellow ochre sphere lines up in relation to the bottom of the red. Looks like it goes a little bit lower, and the green looks like it's a little bit lower. So that's kind of... And I'm going in a little scratchy, a little more scratchy than I'd like. Sometimes I do like a little ghost drawing. I move my hand where I think the line work should go. It's kind of like a little practice, building up memory for me. And there's like a little hot spot right there, I think, and a little bit of a glow over here. This golden sphere has a little bit of a thing. I'm not going to worry about the notches too much. These are Christmas ornaments. And then there's like a little, oh gosh, that string. I'm not going to worry about that too much. It'll kind of go like so. Then you have a little bit of a cast shadow that kind of comes kind of down like this. And you got the tray or tabletop that it's on, which we're not going to worry about too much. I'm just kind of going off the page there. Alright, so we got the basic drawing there, just light and loose, and we can always tweak it if the circle isn't perfect. We can always kind of make it more perfect as we paint. And even if you paint it off and it's not the shape that you wanted, you can fix it while it's wet or wait for it to dry and paint over it a little bit. I have some Enigma playing in the background. I hope it's not too distracting. Alright, so I have my mixture. It's just a little bit of turpenoid and a wee bit of liquid in there. And I like the long flats. They end up becoming bright flats or short flats because eventually they'll just get old and stiff. So they won't be as bendable. Now I'm just going to start in with the red. And now we'll just start painting away here. Now with this I could do a nice pull with that if I wanted to. And I'm painting kind of thin in the beginning just to kind of mark where my line work is and where I want it to go. There we go. And I have limited space here, so bear with me. Now you can use pretty much any brush. There's different brushes for different types of mark making, but I found over the years that if you really want to use a certain brush for something, you'll find a way to do it and make it work. Now red, especially this particular red, which is alizarin crimson, if you add white to it, you'll get like a fleshy pink color, so you have to be careful with what you add to it. If you add white, it'll tint it, and if you add black, obviously you'll darken the paint, and you'll also desaturate. You'll take away some of the intensity and brightness of the color, which is fine. That's no biggie. Now, when you shade, you don't have to always use black. You can use complementary colors or other colors to help shade, and then deepen colors. And when I paint in the direction of the object. Notice how I'm kind of painting circular here. Alright, so it's already kind of having that shape without me putting in too many highlights or shadows. And if I add just a hair of green, this is Viridian green, if I add just a wee bit of that, it'll deepen it up a little bit. And because we have diffused lighting, that shadow area is kind of in the center, and it's over here a bit. Now, I'm just kind of dipping in. If you're noticing, I'm not really using my palette knife too much, but I certainly can if I know I'm going to mix a decent amount, like I'm going to need a decent amount. Maybe a slither of black, not too much black. And you can also add blue to it if you wanted to darken it. You can make your own little versions of your darker color. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll try to watch myself. See how that's a nice dark color? Don't be afraid to go dark. You need that contrast to give it that nice volume and form and dimension that we're looking for. And that shadow kind of goes all the way around. And there's a wee bit of a shadow up top here too. Now when you guys do like one consistent light source, you're not going to have all these shadows bouncing around as much. It'll be a little bit more simplified for you. And you can always change your brush. I mean, I can always use a filbert here. It's a little stiffer bristle. It's hog's hair, but they do have synthetic, harder bristles. The softer bristles, if you want to go more natural, would be like a nice sable. But I tend to beat up my brushes a bit, so I stay with the cheaper ones. It's like Christmas time when I buy myself a real nice expensive brush. Now, for those of you that jump in with thick paint, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sometimes you don't create that illusion with super thick paint. If you look at the realist painters, they tend to go thin with thin layers and glazes over it. And I'm not building my brush up with paint. I'm not I'm just kind of dabbing it in into the paint. If your paint starts getting too built up, like you get a big glob on it like this, or even more, and it starts to cover up in here, you're gonna want to get your palette knife and just kind of scrape some of that off, and you can see how I did that in some of my other videos. And I can kind of merge the colors in a little bit. You don't have to stay in your outlines, you know, perfectly. Sometimes it looks more natural and interesting if you just kind of stray out a wee bit, a little bit. And you can start filling it in again. Now if you get too much paint in one area, you can pick it up and take it somewhere else. So you can scoop it off of there, pick it up a little bit, take it somewhere else. And if you really don't like it, you can completely scrape it off if it starts getting too built up and out of the way, you know, and distracting, and it's not exactly what you want. Alright, and here we go. And we're coming along. Now we have kind of a, not a perfect, you know, I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this, but it's giving you the idea of how to kind of create something with a little bit of dimension to it. And be careful, red, especially alizarin crimson, is a very transparent color. See how thin it is here? And I'm seeing the brush strokes. You could be here forever just going layer over layer, trying to get rid of brush strokes, and you just don't. What you want to do is add an opaque color in with it, or wait for it to dry and do layers over that way. All right. And there we go. There we go. That's kind of how to get started with it. Then you can kind of clean your brush off. I am going to get my nifty sock that you keep seeing. And I'm just kind of cleaning my brush off just a little bit. And I'm just dipping it in here. Now I don't have to clean this brush super thoroughly, you know, if I'm working on the same painting. Sometimes mixing colors in with other colors or other objects kind of unites the painting. Now I don't have the right green out for this. Maybe I can, this blue's starting to get a little crusty on me. Let's see if I can make a different green. Actually, it's a little bit better. Kind of mixing with my left hand. Hold on. And I didn't even clean my palette off very well, my palette knife. So my green's going to be a little dirty because I have red in it. So. Let's grab this yellow. Oh, there we go. Thin that out, make it a little more manageable. And I would rather you build form and dimension with the colors that you have. I should rephrase that. If you don't match the colors exactly, but you build form and volume, that's okay. I would prefer that rather than having you guys waste your time on trying to make the perfect color, but not be able to give the objects any form and dimension. Whoever looks at this, if it's on a museum or gallery wall, they're not going to say, hey, that Christmas ornament's a different green, you're wrong. They're not going to know what your object look like. And then if I want to get in this corner, I can just use the tip of this flat brush. I don't always have to use the wide part of it. You can get yourself a round brush if you want to get in there, that's fine. Now you may find you get this green on top of that red and it goes in too far, and you might have to get that red and go back in and fix that. Let's go in with this brush now. I can get all the red off of that. And if you have to make one object a little bit larger to make it more round, make it a little larger. This isn't going to be perfect. And let's not worry about that. Let's not worry about that little notch in there. Now you want to make sure you get enough paint on there so you're covering that gesso. And you're going to work in layers, so I can do like 2 or 3 or 4 more layers on top of these to really finesse it and fine tune it. Oops, there's red on there. Just pull that off. Oh, I'll show you how to fix a mistake. Okay, so how to fix a mistake. Say you get that on there. You can kind of get a clean brush. Why don't I get a clean brush? So I have a clean brush here. And I can just dab a little bit of clean turpenoid on there. And then I can kind of scrub it off. See that? I'm gonna take it off. Now I can put more green on there. And I'm going to add just a slither of blue to that green to deepen it. sometimes it might get too blue on you. Oh, I got a message on my phone. And these bristles are a little too harsh for this particular exercise. And again, what you might be seeing in that small version in the video, the angles a little bit different than what I'm seeing. So I don't know if the shadows and highlights are matching up exactly to what you're seeing. Now if you want to soften your brush strokes, you can get a clean dry brush and just kind of go in on an angle, kind of flat. And you can kind of soften your mark making a little bit. And if you want to take paint off, you can also kind of go more straight on and make the bristles harder, and you can kind of scrape off that way. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The more you paint, the more you'll see. You know, you'll understand. Sometimes you just have to start making your work and painting to kind of figure a lot of these out on your own. That's good enough for now. I could be here all day nitpicking at this stuff.